Well, hi everybody, it's Jeff Hopper back with Jeffrey Cranford, talking about themes from the 2016 Links Players magazine. We've been talking about Charlie Duke. I'm going to make a bit of an apology to start this particular segment because we have become a ministry that has beautifully been able to have men and women very much involved now. But this is going to be kind of a man-centered segment because it's going to explore some things about the role of a husband and a father. Charlie Duke, as we mentioned last time, really pursued some things that were of this earth and just had no permanency to them. And when he finally understood who the Lord was and wasn't just kind of dabbling with religion and gave his life over to Christ, one of the things that dramatically changed and has stayed changed now for 40, almost 50 years is his commitment to his wife and his children and now his grandchildren. And so I want to talk just a little bit about that whole role of the husband and father. We don't do this a lot in our Links Players things where we tend to be a little more doctrinal in it. But there's no question that the Bible speaks very specifically of how families should interact with one another. And one of the things that it does is draw strongly on this husband-wife metaphor of Christ and the church and husbands and wives.
Yeah. Well, it's probably one of the most indicting scriptures that I can read in the Bible. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Mm-hmm. And I think about, my wife Laura is unbelievable about giving herself up for her family, her kids and myself, and when I'm traveling a lot and she's there, okay, she's thinking about packing 2-3 days before to help me pack, and all this kind of thing. I think about her laying down her life, and then I think about the difficulty many men have because some of these dreams form early in our lives. We don't even know how they formed. These visions we have for our life, and then the good-looking wife fits in. But then, well, wait a minute. The kids, women often have a vision for kids, but then a man, some men do. They have maybe a beautiful vision for a family, but many don't. And they have a vision of, I'm going to be a member of the club, and I'm going to, and then all of a sudden the wife wanting to get pregnant, and that almost gets in the way of the vision, and then they almost go into it reluctantly, willingly, but reluctantly. Very different than lay down your life for your wife and love her as Christ loved the church. And it feels like a battle between two visions very often. And I think as I have grown closer to Jesus, and reading this and spending time in community and being able to observe men who really passionately are able to love their wives as Christ loved the church or move in that direction, it's helped me. It kind of gets back to the first part of the magazine that we were talking about. I need the Word. First time I need somebody just to tell me, husband, to put that in my mind. Oh, that's a crazy concept. As Jesus loved the church, first of all the Word, then to see it through prayer. Father, forgive me. I am not the husband I want to be. There's so many things lacking in my life. I know I don't do that. Then you begin to pray, and then you observe it in the context of community, which is one of the reasons we want to get together as Links Fellowship and look at other men who are living at a higher level of being able to walk this out. I think those three things have made me a better husband, not the husband I plan to be over the next 10 years, but a much better husband than I would have been 10 years ago.
The picture of marriage, it's just so close and so intimate, and there are so many good things out there to read and look at, but there's nothing that takes the place of keeping Christ in mind as the example, and that particularly that sacrificial example. And you're right, it's very hard a lot of times for men to sort out which of these is most important and how much time do I give to these. And I have good conversations with, sometimes a guy will be wrestling with this, and I have to remind him, well, you do know that working is part of it.
Sure.
And so there's that balance, because I have to provide, I have to work, but I have to spend time with my wife, and I have to spend time with my kids. And quality time is the byproduct of quantity time.
Absolutely.
And so I can't just say, okay, I'm going to give you a couple hours here and it's going to be awesome. I really have to attend to my wife and my kids.
That's right. And ultimately, I would say in conclusion, look, I always tell guys, you cannot give out what you do not possess. And so it's my intimate, what Laura needs, what my wife needs, what your Laura, we both Jeff and Laura's, by the way, what both of our Lauras need is they need Christ in us. And so to the degree that I am intimate, my relationship with God is growing more deeply every day, I realize I can actually have something to give to my wife, by the way, which is the most profound thing.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Jeff. We have one more session.
That'll be great.
And I think my voice will hang in there for one more session.
Easy.
Or I'll get it back before we start. See you in a bit.